Because this is the first year I did this. Let's just say that every other year I'll set resolutions or put goals into place at the beginning of the year, and by February, I can't even remember what they fucking were. This year, I stuck with it all year. Hi there. I'm not feeling good today. If you can't tell, my Kathleen Turner voice is the result of being sick for a few days. So I have actually vlogged this week, but I did want to sit down and record this retrospective, this like look back on 2019 in my Powersheets to give you some tips and advice to help you do your Powersheets for next year if that's something that you plan on doing, or goal setting in general if you're not going to use Powersheets. Because I feel like this year has been probably the most successful year I have had with setting goals and ideas at the beginning of the year and actually following through on them. So let's just jump right into it. And like I said, I apologize for my voice, but this is the best you're gonna get from me. This is the best a man can get, like Gillette. Tip number 1, and this is something massive that I learned this year. The only way you are going to actually follow through on your goals is if you remember them and you think about them on a regular basis. So my tip is to keep whatever you're using for your goals close at hand. I kept my Powersheets with my planners. The months I did the best with them were the months I opened them every single day. I didn't even leave them closed half the time. I would just open them to the tending list, you know, with all the monthly tracking and shit, whatever, where I can't even fucking find one right now. I opened them to the tending list and I just left them like this in my stack of planners so that I could check in on them every day to see how I was doing with my monthly progress and check things off that I did each day and whatever the case may be. The months were like this past month, December, where I've either been too busy or too sick to check them every day, have been the months where I have been the least like razored in on the goals that I have been trying to set. So you have to remind yourself of them. Now, one of the things I'm going to try next year, I think, is writing them down every morning. That's something I got from Amy Landino. And I'm going to be doing a video kind of elaborating and going deeper into each of my goals, maybe even a podcast. Who fucking knows? This is goals time, right? The point being is that keeping them in your focus, in your line of sight, so that you know what you're doing, is really, really important. How did that look for me this year with my Powersheets? I know some people do tending list Tuesdays. I didn't do that. I did tending list every day. Like when I sat down to use my bullet journal and my planner each day, my Powersheets were right there. I treated them the way I treated my planners, something that my hands touch every single day. Whitney English was the one I think who said it Go Wild many years ago, that if she touches her planner before she touches her phone, it's like a good day. That's the thing, my dudes. Something I do highly recommend, and it's something that they recommend in the Powersheets like prep videos, is to schedule your monthly Powersheets, to do all of the like, you know, looking back on the month and to fill out the next tending sheet, as well as doing the quarterly check-ins. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. My suggestion is put it on your calendar. Even if it has to move, treat it like any other appointment. This is an appointment for you. And give yourself some time. Like, I think at my fastest days, I probably spent 20 minutes to half an hour on my tending sheet and everything for the end of the month. And on my heavier days, especially the ones at the quarterly check-ins, probably about an hour. But that's an hour out of an entire goddamn month. You can find it. You can break it up if you have to, but give yourself that time. The third tip I want to bring you to is the quarterly tending stuff. Now, I will tell you, the actual pieces of it, the bucket lists and all of that, I found them to be kind of sort of helpful depending on whatever the case may be. Each one of them was different. Some of them, the one where you were like decluttering everything, I think it's the spring one, that one was probably the most handy. And the November one, the savoring the season or whatever, was probably the least handy. But those like little worksheets, they can be a nice like way to kind of help you think about your life in general, not just in terms of your goals. The real meat for me was doing the evaluation of my life each 3 months and then revisiting my goals. Each goal got subtly tweaked. Well, not every goal, but most goals got tweaked every 3 months to reflect kind of where I was at. And I found that to be really helpful. It was like every 3 months, I kind of further refined the goal as I was working towards it. So do it. Like, revisit your goals. I wouldn't revisit them every month. Like, I wouldn't like redo your entire world every month. When it comes to the overall big picture, I would give it some room to breathe, but still check back in on it, if that makes sense. And then the final tip I'm going to give you for goal setting in general, especially for planner people like us, is to not get so hung up on the actual process of the goal setting and filling the book out that we don't actually do the things that we want to do. I mean, that's big, right? Like, it's real easy to get lost in the pens and the colors and the stickers and all the things, when really this is a tool to help you figure out the shit that you want to be doing and then do it. This is not the end. This is the means to the end. This is the path. This is to help you find the path to where you're going, not where you're going. So don't get lost in all that minutia. And as a side note to that, don't do things if they don't work for you. I discovered part of the way through, there were parts of these Powersheets that was fucking useless for me. And I stopped doing it. And that was fine. It didn't change anything for me. I tried using the wild cards. They didn't really work that well for me. I tried using the parts at the beginning where it's like, what's all the things you have coming up this month? It's like, fuck, I have a calendar. I don't need this. I don't need to redundantly write this. And so I tried it and it didn't work, so I stopped using it. Don't feel bad about that. Now that I've given you kind of my tips that I learned from doing this over the course of the year, I don't just take a look at my goals and figure out where I started and where I got to, because this is the first year I did this. Let's just say that every other year I'll set resolutions or put goals into place at the beginning of the year, and by February, I can't even remember what they fucking were. This year, I stuck with it all year. All year. I think it's important to celebrate what got done and to think about what didn't get done. So that's what we're going to do. And the first thing I want to do is something that I actually thought about when I was doing the Power Sheet prep for this year, and I'll link that video up above. And that is the page where it says, where'd it go? I marked it. Oh, hi, Mark, and now I can't find it. My most purposeful year. Imagine at the end of 2019, and you look back at your year. What would it take for you to look back and know that you cultivated what mattered? So I'm going to read you this, and then I'm going to talk about it. My name is Cindy. I dream of being okay with myself. I am deciding that I can. I want to make what matters happen because I am worth it and my family is worth it. The parts of my life that need to be cultivated the most are my health, mentally and physically, and my relationships. In order to do this, I'm letting go of saying yes to extra commitments and comparison. My word for this year is connection, because everything I do is to connect with myself and others. I will live this by saying yes to asking for help and forgiveness, and saying no to comparison and being afraid. I will surround myself with less negative self-talk and fill my life with more friends and quality time and help. I will do this little by little with leaps of faith along the way. My definition of success is trying, taking risks, and going along the journey. I'll start living my vision for this year by focusing on what matters, which is family and being connected. When I'm 80, I want to be surrounded by family, happy, and as healthy as possible. And this was December 21st, 2018. Today, when I'm filming this, is December 19th, 2019. So almost exactly a year. It's funny. Some of the things on here are exactly what I wrote on this year's Power Sheets. And others of these are things I didn't even really think about too much when I was filling out the prep. For example, yes, I still have a problem comparing myself to other people. I'm like a comparison fucking wizard over here. I can magically compare myself even when there's no basis for comparison. But the negative self-talk has reduced a lot this year. I have learned to be a lot kinder to myself than I was before, mentally, specifically, and physically. And that's been a big win for me. So that has happened. Obviously, quality time is both here and in my new Power Sheets, but I feel like I have discovered over the last year that the reason quality time is such a problem for myself for me to be able to have with my husband and my kids is because I don't prioritize it. And this last year, if I learned anything, it was that I don't prioritize it, and neither does my husband. And it's not because we don't want to, it's because we feel like there are so many other things that are more important. So knowing that, I can go into this year. I will say, I went on antidepressants this year. Yeah! That helped quite a bit. Yay, Alexa. I like that when I'm 80, I want to be surrounded by family and as healthy as possible. Basically reflects exactly what I wrote in my Power Sheets this year. Overall, I feel like I had a successful year in terms of what I set out to do. But let's dig a little deeper into that. Let's look at my goals, where they started at the beginning of 2019. Did I feel like I could give myself a check mark for them or not? Goal number 1, develop a healthy family financial practice. I don't think I can give myself a check mark for that. We made improvements, but we didn't get anywhere near as far as we wanted to. That was one that kept getting avoided. Like, it was real easy to keep putting that off. And Jess and I really started talking seriously about it like last month. So I would say that for goal number 1, we kind of coasted. We didn't fail, but we didn't really do anything either. So there's that. Goal number 2, create a healthy and sustainable business picture. This one I feel like I made significant progress on, and I'm going to give myself a check. Check. Let's just say I pay quarterly taxes now, as much as it hurts and makes my balls like shrivel up into my groin. Yes, I pay quarterly taxes now. I wanted to create 2 more streams of income, and I did. I had the Etsy shop and the Skillshare classes, both of which were big dreams for me. Got a good computerized finance system going on. I use QuickBooks for self-employed now, and it works really well and helps a lot. I didn't do everything that I wanted to do, but I absolutely did make a lot of progress on that, and to the point where I did not feel the need to create a goal similar to this year, even though I did with the family financial picture. So absolutely progress there. Go me. Goal number 3 was strengthen our family relationship. And I think of all of my goals, I feel like this was the most vague. And even when I tweaked it, it didn't really, it was hard to pinpoint exactly what I wanted out of it. I think we did a decent job removing social media and our devices from special times like having dinner together. Like that was a big win, but we didn't have as much quality time as we wanted. Like I said, it wasn't made a priority, and all of us had our own rough patches this year, and we weren't the kindest to each other when we went through our rough patches, whether it was me not feeling good or one of my kids having problems, like issues that they were dealing with at school. We did not come through them as kind to each other as maybe we should have. I don't want to elaborate too much on this goal because this is probably the most personal goal out of all of them, and it involves the other 3 members of my house whose lives I don't want to like lay bare for you. Again, kind of like the family finances, I don't think we did any worse, but I feel like we coasted. Goal number 4, treat my whole self, body and mind kindly. This goal I feel like I knocked out of the park. I still feel like shit. That's what comes with having kidney disease, especially where I'm at. I got my fistula after many surgeries. It is now ready for dialysis. I learned to try new foods. I like arugula and bell peppers, even if the whole meal plan for the year, and I could talk more about that in another video if you're interested about my meal planning and everything for the whole year. Body-wise, I did a lot of the things I wanted to do, and I saw some of the results. I lost a little bit of weight, even with my kidneys getting bigger. Pretty good with my water. Been doing cooking. Body-wise, things have been going as well as I think they probably could be. And mind-wise, I got on antidepressants. I started seeing a therapist. All of those things, again, helped me get into a better headspace this year, which meant that as the year progressed and a lot of like monkey wrenches were thrown my way, I didn't fall apart the way I had been. So I would give myself a solid check mark for goal number 4. Goal number 5, nurture a healthy and loving marriage. Well, we did not go on a honeymoon, but we had a weekend away, and I would suggest that Jesse's and my communication is at the height of where we've been together for 10 years now, and our communication has never been better. We need to prioritize more time together, but communication, and I'll give you this advice for anybody who is venturing into marriage or whatever the case may be, long-term relationships. More than love, more than romance, more than sexy fun times, more than laughing. All of those things are important, or can be important in their own ways, but being able to communicate with your person that you live with and you've committed your life to is so massively important. And I know this coming from a relationship where communication was massively difficult for us. So I'm just saying, honeymoon or not, communication is at a peak, so I will give ourselves a check for that one as well. Goal number 6 is the goal of unintended consequences. My goal was to foster more quiet space, and really what this boiled down to was taking on less commitments, be more like purposeful of the commitments I do take so that I have space in my life to breathe, to be like what I need, get what I need out of life without always running from place to place. And I did that this year. I did not get super involved in the boosters. There were many times where I came really close to volunteering for something and I didn't. And I wound up stepping back from a lot of things at church. The unintended consequence was that now I feel pretty isolated because I work from home. I'm by myself all day. The kids are at their dad's every other week. So suddenly my outlets, I purposefully stepped back from them. So this year, I'm going to try to continue to respect boundaries while at the same time finding ways to still be around people and get out of the house and everything else. So I'm going to give myself a check mark for number 6 because I did foster more quiet space. But this goal right here is the example of setting a goal, achieving the goal, and finding out that what you wanted when you set that goal was not exactly what you needed. That one is checked off with a caveat. Goal number 7, create an environment I am proud of. This one this is one of those goals. I talked about this when I filled my power sheets out. This is never going to be finished. I'm a homeowner. I have now learned this as being a first-time homeowner that it never ends. It never ends. Ever. It never, ever, ever ends. But we made a lot of progress. The house is painted. We did a lot of reorganizing this year. We finished the kitchen, which is a huge thing for us. There are still so many things on the list to get done, and it's going to be another goal next year. But we made massive progress, and I think we get a check mark for this one as well. Next year, landscaping. And my final big picture goal, number 8, was established a more balanced work life. And the idea here was to be as efficient as I can with my work while setting better boundaries around it. And I feel like for the most part, I did. I learned a lot about myself this year when it comes to how I work for myself, very specifically because of the book. And I will be publishing the Skillshare class in the first couple weeks of January about project planning for procrastinators, something that I really learned when I was writing the book. This book, P.S. If you haven't ordered it yet, I have my advanced copies. This book, right here. I would suggest that I still have a lot of work to do on establishing boundaries around my work life, but that this year was the year that I finally started stepping out of my comfort zone when it came to the work I needed to do by opening the Etsy shop, by doing the Skillshare classes, by trying all of these things, major strides. And there were times I had to work super late, but more often than not, I was able to keep my work within the hours I wanted to keep it in. And in and of itself, that's a massive win. So I would give myself the win for that. So looking at 8 goals that I set this year, out of them 6 I would be willing to give myself a massive check mark on. But overall, and this is kind of how I want to bring this, overall, the thing I learned this year was by thinking about what I wanted and what I needed out of my life and focusing on those things and really thinking about those things, I was able to keep that end game in mind every time I sat down to think about my day or my week or my month, that I kept in mind the things I knew I wanted to work on, the bigger picture things I wanted to improve on. They were never far away from me. They were never forgotten. They were always present because I kept the thing that I was using to track them always present. And it didn't get old. It didn't feel tedious. It didn't feel like, oh, just one more thing to do. It was just a reminder. It wasn't like, oh, my lovely power sheets, I love you. And it wasn't like, oh, you fucking annoying power sheets. They were just a tool. And I kept them in that perspective. And I really want you to know that, because whatever you use, if it's power sheets or not, whatever you're using to keep track of your goals, know that that's what it is. It's a tool. Don't give it more than it needs to have, and don't give it do you see what I'm saying? Like, give it the perspective it needs, and it will help you. I'm proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself. I'm a skeptic about a lot of things, especially like woo-woo, manifest your destiny and all that bullshit. And I don't think that's what I did this year. I think what I did was I just reminded myself over and over again, every time I looked at this, about the things that I say matter to me, and then acted on them as best as I could. And I was more successful sometimes than I was. If you go through these, and I'm not going to show you all of them, you can look through all my videos if you want to see. If you go through them, there are some months that were more successful than others. But overall, as a year, it was a successful year in what I said matters. Whether it was a successful year, if you look at any other metric of my life, you could say it was successful, you could say it wasn't successful. But the metrics I set for myself, overall, I was successful. And I'm going to take that win, because God damn it, I'm going to be 40 next month. I need that win. And if you can't tell from my voice, I really need that win. So those are my thoughts on using the power sheets for an entire year. And this is coming from somebody who tried them 3 years previous and never finished them for more than a month. So I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments, whether you used them this year, whether you didn't. Tell me about the goals you had this past year. Did you remember them? Did you act on them? Did you not? What are you thinking about doing for next year? Just talk about all this shit in the comments below. I would love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.